myself until the meeting starts.
Good morning or good evening. Feels like morning. We're ready.
Okay. I will call the regular meeting for Tuesday, January 4th, 2022 to order. The time is 6:30. Everybody, please rise for a moment of silence, follow the pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so, consent agenda, we have none. Susan's comments. Did you have anything, Edna?
Yes.
Okay, no Susan's comments. Randy, you got anything you want to say?
No.
Okay. All right, next item, discussion items. Item A, City of Everman Personnel Manual Review, item 22054.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Happy New Year. It is that time of year to review and approve and update our personnel manual. Some of these updates that you're going to find through here as we go through this are subsequent to memos or policy changes that we made throughout the year. And then some of them are going to be recommended changes that we've got for you tonight. First, if you turn to page 8 of the manual that I provided for you this evening, all of the changes that you're going to find in this printed copy are highlighted in yellow. Section 2.12, the employee dating policy, is an entirely new policy. We've had some new circumstances over recent years arise where we've had employees within the city who are in a relationship of some form or another, whether it be a dating relationship or even marriage. And we felt that it would be important to include policies that regulated how the behavior would, how their behavior would be at the workplace. So this is a recommended policy that Human Resources brought forth that just relates specifically to married couples and dating couples. If you recall, the city actually abolished the general nepotism policy that we had before several years ago, and it kind of left it wide open. It didn't give us much guidance or regulations on a dating policy. So this one is coming forth as a recommendation. It's not currently implemented. The next change is on page 14. This is change related to overtime for police and fire personnel. We're recommending that we fall in line with what the FLSA guidelines are. Currently, police officers are paid overtime in anything in excess of 84 hours in a 14-day period. FLSA recommends 86, and then fire department personnel are currently at 104 hours. FLSA recommends 106. Main reason for the change was just for uniformity. Fire department is looking to go to a 48-96 style shift. Almost unanimously on the staff there, they've requested to move to that style shift. So this would help alleviate unnecessary overtime expenditures and just bring that down a little bit. So we're bringing forth that recommendation tonight. The next change is going to be on page 18. Up at the top, subsection G. The change here relates to how we observe holidays that fall on a weekend. Previously, it was designated on whether the holiday would be observed on either the Friday or the Monday before. However, we found out this year with a 2-day holiday falling on a Saturday and a Sunday, that would be difficult for us to observe. So I just added in here a little caveat where the city manager makes the determination on whether to observe the holiday either the day immediately prior or following. The subsection E, this one's going to be one that you may wish to discuss a little bit. The no accumulation. This is related to vacation leave. If you recall, last month I brought forth kind of an emergency action item for council to consider where council decided to not truncate vacation hours at the 180-hour cap that was previously set. We're recommending now that we implement a cap with no truncation at 320 hours. This means once an employee reaches 320 hours of vacation time, they will no longer accrue any time above and beyond that. Employees currently that have more than 320 hours will not lose their hours. However, they are not going to accrue any more hours until they fall below that 320 threshold. This keeps our liability the same at the 180 because our payout policy would not allow us to pay anything out more than 180 hours. So we don't have to worry about liability. But this kind of falls in a middle ground of satisfying both the accrual, vacation accrual that the employees wish to keep, as well as keeping our liability down at the same time.
Okay, and a comment before we move on about that. Time off is important. And if you've got 300 hours, you're not doing something right. So, and I know that we have police officers and EMTs, et cetera, that just, they live. And I understand that, but it's not healthy. And so y'all need to come up with something to encourage them to take time off. Just, I don't care if it's a day off once a week or whatever.
Why
Is
why
that
are
still
they,
in here?
why are
40
they not
days,
using
or-
their vacation time?
We love this city.
Well, no, reason why I say that is because like with the government, they raised it so we could have 320 hours,
Mhm.
but it's you, then you start using or losing.
Right.
Right.
So, I mean, but you're saying that once you get 320, you can't accumulate anymore.
Right.
So that's the same
Until they
thing. They're
use
losing it.
or lose.
I know, so I'm saying, why not encourage them to use it?
If you look up at subsection, I believe it's subsection C, city council did approve, I'm looking, oh, no, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
it's subsection D, taking vacation leave. This was a change that city manager Gunderson recommended a couple of years ago, where we actually require employees to take at least 40 hours of vacation a year. That policy was implemented with the hope of trying to persuade those who normally don't take vacation to take vacation. Sorry, I was raising my hand. Um,
But it's also encouraged because of internal controls. You want every position to be out for a time period so that somebody fills in for them, just for internal control purposes.
Well, but
The auditors look for that.
at the same time, though, when you have police and fire or EMS, they build up their hours in case they get hurt because it gives them, they won't go without a paycheck.
I
It's
understand.
addition, it keeps their pay going. When I did my fireman deal, I was maxed out on everything. So
Right,
and when I
but
retired, I was maxed out. I was losing time every year, but I
Right.
knew that.
But for mental health, I agree.
But I still
Right.
took off time. I wasn't taking off what was allotted for the year, but I was still taking off plenty of time.
Okay, also, why not use vacation time like for sick? Because I know, do you get paid for sick if you quit or leave or whatever?
No, sick time is only paid out in the event of a retirement, an honorable retirement from the city. And then it's paid out at a cap of, I believe, 180 hours.
Okay.
So how many sick leave do they have? Is it 5 days or is it 2 weeks?
Sick leave is accrued,
It's not 2 weeks.
It's
no,
about 4.5 weeks.
40-hour per week personnel. accrued.
40,
So they receive 4 hours for each full month of employment in the calendar year. So stand by.
Okay, so whenever we say that, is it really mostly EMS and police that have the amount, the cap amount already accumulated, or are we talking about city employees as well?
No, it's spread pretty evenly across the board. I do have some police and fire personnel that do tend to accrue their time and hold on to it. But I've also got employees in other divisions that do the same. And then I've got other employees that burn a lot of their time regularly and sometimes don't have time to take when they do need it.
Okay,
we
do
kinda
y'all
have both ends of the
like
spectrum.
donated?
We do have a sick donation policy
Okay.
where they can donate sick time, but not vacation time. The sick time, they can only donate a maximum of 50% of their hours each time that comes up. And we only open that up when we have an employee who has a qualifying event to receive donated sick time.
Could you
So
possibly change the policy where you could donate vacation as well?
we could, but the thing I would be cautious about in doing that is I think that would increase our liability on what the city could potentially owe. So it could throw our financial numbers off.
Well, the reason why I was saying that was because you were saying that if they don't use it, they'll lose it.
Well, and that's
I
what
mean,
the old
they won't,
policy
I mean, they
was.
won't earn it.
Right,
they won't
they won't earn it at 320 hours.
Right.
But I think between that and the mandating a 40-hour a week, I think that's a lot of incentive to take your vacation time every year.
Yeah.
Because 320 hours is 8 weeks of
Yeah, I was
vacation.
just sitting here calculating that. That's a
Yes.
lot of vacation.
It is a lot of vacation.
And this minimum of 40 hours has not been enforced this year or last year due to COVID.
Yeah.
But I think moving forward.
Why is it that we allowed so much vacation? Most jobs have 3-week vacation max or 2 weeks at the most vacation time, plus their sick leave or their personal leave. So why do we allow 8 weeks of vacation per year for an employee?
That's not the accrual rate. That's just what we have. We have employees who have been here several years that have eventually accrued up to that.
Okay,
So it's not, we don't have an employee who's only worked here 1 year that's accrued 320 hours.
Sign me up.
I wish that would be a great hiring point if we offered that.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. Most of these employees that have this have been employed for several years and have just allowed their vacation to accrue.
so their accrual max is 320 hours regarding the point of time that they're, if it's 5 years, 6 years, 8 years, that's the amount that they are allowed to have.
That is correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Well, that's what we're recommending. If council approves this, then yes.
Okay, I just wanted to understand a little better. Thank you.
Well,
Yes,
this
ma'am.
does fall in line with what a lot of cities are currently doing. So
I wanted to go back up to G, the substitute holidays.
Yes, ma'am.
On the world, for instance, like Christmas fell on a Saturday, could you automatically change it to where it would be that Friday? And if it was on a Sunday, it would be that Monday?
That's how it was previously worded. No, I'm sorry. Yes, that is how it was previously worded.
If the holiday lands on a
So Christmas Eve fell on a Friday, Christmas Day fell on a Saturday.
Right.
So what would have happened is we would have been closed Thursday and Friday, rather than Friday and Monday. And we felt it would be more appropriate to be closed Friday and Monday to get the most days in each week as possible. Had we have followed the policy, then we would have been closed Thursday, Friday, which means we would have had 2 3-day weeks essentially back to back, which would have been hard on staff to stay up to date with everything that needed to be done.
So this is just giving you a little leeway to,
Flex
Work
it to
the
either
weeks.
the day immediately previous or immediately following, depending upon what's going to be best for staff and operations.
gotcha. Okay,
On page 19, or I'm sorry, was there anything else on the vacation leave?
no, encourage them to take it.
On section 503, the sick leave, previously, we had a cap written in here where employees only accrued a maximum of 160 hours of sick leave. We felt that cap was not necessary. Many employees, particularly police and firefighters, like to accrue as much sick time as possible to use in the event, like the mayor discussed, of some type of injury where they're going to take FMLA time and they may need 3 months off due to an injury that was not sustained on duty or at work. So we did remove that. Or we're recommending that we remove the cap of 160 hours of accrual. The max payout still would only be 180 hours in the event of an honorable retirement. We're not recommending that change, so it doesn't change our liability at all.
Where are you looking? Oh, you're
Uh,
on page 20?
I'm on page 19, accrual.
Okay.
The only change within there was to remove the 160 hours.
Oh, you
so we're
didn't
not
show that.
putting any type of cap on it?
Yeah, I saw a couple 10-month period. Sorry,
No cap on it at all?
no, I don't think we need to, I wouldn't recommend a cap.
Okay, 'cause I know Arlington's 1,800.
If they,
for fire- 24
if they
hour
take
personnel.
FMLA time and they're out for 3 months, upon the expiration of their FMLA, we're gonna have to seek alternative methods for employment anyway for an employee out that long. This would just assure that during that 3-month period, the employee's got some form of pay coming in.
And if they retire, it's still, the liability stays the same regardless.
So you took something out.
Yes, we removed, previously it said maximum accrual of 160 hours. We removed that from this paragraph.
Okay, well, normally you strike through it and leave it so we can see that it's intended to be
I will
removed.
make sure I do that next time.
Thank you. Okay,
On page 20, payment upon separation. Previously, for some reason, our max sick payout was set at 160, our max vacations payout was set at 180. We just wanted to simplify that and have them both set at 180. So that's the payment upon separation of sick time, for retirement or deceased. We do not pay out sick time unless it falls underneath one of those two categories. That's the only-
When they leave.
Yes,
Okay.
upon retirement or deceased.
Okay.
If they resign their position, not a retirement, then they don't qualify for sick pay. Next change is on page 22, very small change. We just added the word bereavement there underneath the emergency family leave, just so people understood that's what that was referring to, was bereavement. The next change is on page 27. You recall a few months ago, City Council approved a mental health leave for first responders policy. This is that exact policy that was previously approved, just being incorporated into the personnel manual. Page 29, the paid quarantine leave for first responders. That was also in a policy that was approved and mandated by the federal government. That policy is just being included in this update. Next change is on page 39. State of Texas passed a Whistleblower Protection Act, which requires us to adopt a policy on such. That's what this section is. It puts us in compliance with the Chapter 554 and just discusses whistleblower protections. Page 41 underneath harassment. This is just a general update with recommended verbiage changes from the attorneys that kind of expands. Previously, it just focused on sexual harassment. This kind of expands that a little bit to include discrimination based upon color, ancestry, religion, sex, genetic information, marital status, veteran status, national origin, disability, all the protected classes. So we've just expanded that language to be inclusive of all those and corrected some of the language within this policy based off the attorney's recommendations. Oh, I do have two minutes. And we do have some typos we're identifying. We'll get those corrected. And Ms. Mackey, I don't mind you submitting any of those as well.
Thank you.
On page 42, this is just a continuation of the edit of the sexual harassment policy. You'll see one highlighted section there where all complaints must be forwarded to the city manager. And then page 43, again, just continued edits here based off the attorney's recommendations. One new thing in here is that last statement where it talks about false, exaggerated, or malicious complaints of harassment, discrimination, or retaliation, as opposed to complaints which, even if erroneous, are made in good faith, will result in appropriate disciplinary action. That was not previously within our policy, and I think that is important to have in here as well. Next change is page 46, section 10.04. Essentially, within this section, we removed the portion that said that evaluation results would be used for determining merit raises. We do not give merit increases anymore. Therefore, we just removed that section from here. And then the last proposed change is on page 52. Drug testing for drivers of motor vehicles. Previously, this section applied only to drivers of commercial motor vehicles. So we have removed the word commercial throughout here and changed it with city vehicles. So whether the vehicle classifies as a commercial vehicle or a non-commercial vehicle, if they're a driver for the city, they'll fall underneath our drug testing.
Any discussion?
No, it's a lot to go read.
Okay, so we'll go to item B, City of Everman City Council Governance Policy Review, item 22053.
On the policy of governance, since we're updating the personnel manual, it'd probably be a good idea to take a minute and review and get any guidance from council on changes that you may wish to make related to the governance policy. The governance policy or the governance, policy on governance process is essentially the rules for you guys. You police yourselves. So I'm not bringing any recommendations to you or any guidance. I just wanted to open up the floor for discussion on if there's anything that you guys would like to change within this, I will make sure that we draft those changes along with an ordinance from the attorney and bring it back before you.
So we want to maybe next meeting or a meeting after that, actually come to you with recommendations at that point.
We can, absolutely.
So, because I'd like to get away from the Zoom meetings, or not Zoom, but just
Yes.
council joining by Zoom.
Yes.
And because, we have to be here present to have a quorum. And when you're on Zoom, you still can't vote anyway. So
Agreed.
I would like to go ahead and get back to normal to make sure that if somebody's thinking about maybe not coming, they'll go ahead and be here, so we'll have our quorum.
Right.
Right,
So-
but with COVID and stuff, it's still a possibility that someone may not want to attend because of the circumstances.
Well, Johnny, we got a lot of chairs here. We could spread out if we needed to. And if it gets to the point where the federal or state government says that we need to go back to the way we were doing things, then we will.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, we need to get back to normal.
Yeah.
So is my thoughts.
So are we discussing this now?
Yes, ma'am.
On page 5, where it's talking about reimbursement, down on A, where it's saying all training must be obtained within the state of Texas and must be pertinent to local city government. What is that? What does that mean?
That was put in there for basically, we were limiting it to TML conferences, city attorneys, COG training, and those things. We're not going to be going to Las Vegas for conferences there or Washington DC like a lot of cities do. We're being fiscal with the city's dollars. So we're staying local, and the training needs to be pertinent to what we do.
On C, it's regarding registration and lodging. Right now, if training is approved, you have to pay out of pocket for registration and for lodging. And I think the city should pay for the hotel and the registration. I mean, I understand that if you don't go, that you pay for it, but I think that the city should pay for registration and for the lodging. Because lately
Don't we
it's
do
been.
I thought lately we have been doing that, haven't we?
No, not necessarily. So that
Should be
she does
clarified.
bring a valid point that traditionally, and the way it has been is council members have been expected to fork up the money up front to attend the trainings and then submit for that
No,
reimbursement of the
That's
back.
not traditional at all.
Oh.
Every time I go, or have in
It
the,
used to
since
be.
before you guys.
Okay, well,
Well, that's not the way it's been done. And then it takes three weeks, if not more, to be reimbursed. And that's $400 for a class, and then not including how much you're paying for hotel.
yeah, if it's a conference, I mean, it would require a council member to be out close to $1,000 for a
Yeah.
conference prior to, between hotel costs, food,
Mhm.
things. What we
I mean,
could do is we could implement a process where we have a credit card that the city council member could actually check out and utilize, or
I think probably just rewording this so that when the approval has been made through mayor and it's been brought to council and everything's approved, then at that time, then we handle the registration and pay for it on our end.
Right.
Wasn't there a point
Yeah.
to where there was a certain amount that each council person was going to be able to spend
yes.
Yeah.
for that?
That's
Yes.
correct. And I don't know that we would necessarily want to specify the dollar amount because that budget amount changes annually, potentially. But I do think that, yeah, this could be reworded and that we could handle it on this end. Because I agree. I think 3 weeks or 4 weeks is an extreme amount of time to wait on money for a registration, for the registration, the hotel, any of it.
Especially because you sign up for the course and the course, you may sign that up for that in June and it's not until October.
But we just
But
gotta
then,
make sure.
we would just need to specify that that the council person would need to reimburse the city in the event that they, don't attend. Blah,
Yes.
blah, blah, whatever.
Or don't
Right.
meet the required hours.
Right, whatever.
We just need to make sure that the receipts are turned in quickly.
So I think
And
that there's, sorry, Mayor,
Go
sorry.
ahead, Miriam.
I think that there should be a form when a council member wants to request a conference, to go to a conference, there should be a form that indicates what conference we'll be attending, what hotel is where the conference is going to be hosting or using, and submit that to city manager or the city secretary and request it that way, as well as a travel contract where it includes what the hotel costs, what the conference costs, and the registration versus, where if you don't attend, you have that contract signed that you understand that if you don't attend, you do owe those fees. So
Yes.
we just had something in writing and forms that we can submit so you guys know what we want to attend and do. And if we even have enough money for it for an approval, that would probably be the best route to go.
To your point, I think that, yes, we could say within the allotted amount per council member.
Well, also, even far as that's concerned, I think, are you going to, I don't know if this needs to be discussed when we do discuss budget, but how much, an amount that's going to be allotted to each council person?
Yes, yeah, we would include that within the budget process. So
Okay.
if council wants to increase that would be the time. to do it.
Well, right, well, we didn't put anything in there this past year.
Well,
So I mean.
There
we-
wasn't much, yeah.
Well, I mean, we go all the way to next October for the physical year, and there's no money for training.
But you gotta remember too, that number is
there
so
is.
low because of COVID. That
There
there's
is a
lot of-
budget, but it is small.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, most of it's gone. Just,
Exactly.
Well,
but I think that number was so low because of COVID. Because there
That
wasn't a
number-
lot of training out.
that number's been the same for quite a while.
Exactly.
Well, but it's been coming down. We just, there for, past couple of years, there hadn't been a lot of training available because.
Yeah,
of
last
COVID.
year it wasn't used.
So,
Mainly online.
Yeah. D says when attending TML conferences, credit will be obtained for all training seminars with a minimum of 5 credits obtained per day. How do we prove that?
there's a form that you have to fill out. And
Where's the form?
you get it there.
Yeah. you-
Oh, okay.
you can get
It's
online.
matter to
You
me,
can get
yes,
online,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
You can get
Usually-
online, or usually they have the forms there where you can pick them up and you can just fill in what classes you have.
They
participated.
usually provide
Okay.
certificates.
And we
Well-
turn that into you when we get back? Okay.
Normally, previously, it was stated that it was supposed to be 11 hours, I think, per conference. But, I mean, it says 5 hours per full day. Okay, if you attend the conference, why isn't it just 11 hours or whatever for the conference?
Well, I
Well, but I
think-
mean, what if you go down there for 2 days?
Yeah, I was gonna say, that I think that it may be done by day because some conferences vary in length. Some may be a 2 or 3 or 5 day conference.
Well, but typically too, that plus the fact that, they have half days. It's like the first day's a half day and the last
Usually it's
day's
2
a
and a
half
half.
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
So
And
It's
each
trying to give
session's about an
everybody-
hour.
a little bit of flexibility where they're not constantly running the entire time they're there to get from one conference to another. So,
I'm not aware of, I haven't been to a TML conference, so I don't know how that credits work.
it's getting where they're all the same, it seems like at times, but
Okay, up at C, it's saying that the city will pay for TML, the Region 8 and the Mayor's Council dinner.
I'm sorry, where are you at, man?
Up at C, I'm sorry, at the
Oh, under,
top.
okay, miscellaneous council policies, yes, ma'am, functions, okay.
And I'm just saying, it's saying that, so does that need to be approved as well?
It does not appear so according to this policy.
I mean, this
Well,
policy's
which
already
one?
been passed. What's in
Yes.
here?
I'm sorry, which one?
We're
Where are
up
we?
at C. at the
Miscellaneous council
top.
policies.
Top,
Functions?
Yes.
Okay. Favored in one guest or 10 functions related. Yeah, that's the same as it's always been.
yeah, it's always been that way.
But still, you're claiming for, like, for mileage and stuff, if it's out of the city, like the Region 8 meetings and dinners. Is that what that's for?
That would appear so, yes, ma'am.
Claim mileage?
So does, if
We
you're out
never
of,
claimed mileage for that.
if you're out of city.
Well, technically, we're not out any money other than driving there because the city
Right.
pays for our tickets.
But,
I'm sorry,
but
Johnny,
the-
I'm
the
not
question
catching
is,
it.
does this have to be approved? Since it is travel.
It's
and-
already, technically, the way it stands right now, it's already approved within the governance policy. So no, the way it's worded in here is how it currently stands.
Okay,
This doesn't address mileage.
No,
No,
this does not address mileage. However, I would stipulate that our personnel manual does, and therefore it would probably fall underneath that category. So I think if you want to stipulate either for or against mileage, that would probably need to be included within this document.
because see, even when you attend like the Region 8 meetings, it's like maybe $25 to attend or something like that.
But that one's
This-
listed in here.
this, yes, it is. TML Region 8 dinners.
Right.
Uh-huh.
It's-
So the
That's
city
listed.
pays your ticket for that.
Yes.
I think I'm confused.
Well, no, they have not always paid for that, no. I mean, I was reimbursed, but I
Okay,
paid
so they
out.
paid it.
But I'm saying, is this something that has to be approved to be reimbursed? Since it is something that you're being reimbursed
Oh,
on.
Yeah,
I
probably
think
so.
that that you should add something
Yes.
in there that says if you're going to be reimbursed for anything,
Right.
it needs to be approved. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah,
Yes.
because I remember the 2 TML Christmas dinners I went to, it was all paid for in advance. All I had to do was show up.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, you have to pay for those in
Even
advance.
more.
So anything else on the governance policy? For now?
Oh, no, that was.
I mean, everybody can look at it and we can come back and pick at it a little bit more next meeting.
Yes, write down your recommendations. That'd be great.
You get notes, Craig?
I got a couple, just
Okay, so let's go down to new business consideration possible action. Item A, approve interlocal agreement between the city of Everman and Tarrant County, Texas related to the development of a flood assessment master drainage study for Chambers Creek and its tributaries located within the city limits of Everman, Texas. Item 22052.
I'm going to share my screen to talk about this because although the interlocal seems very simple and straightforward, I know we've talked about flooding for months and months and years now. This is something that we've talked about for quite some time, but I do want to highlight the overall scope of this project and why we're bringing the ILA to you tonight. We had a meeting yesterday with Commissioner Brooks, several folks in administration down in Tarrant County, Mr. Michael Morris and his team at the COG, all related to this project. I wanted to give you kind of the 30,000 foot view of what happened in that meeting yesterday, because I think you're going to be really excited about it. There's been a lot of discussion. We talked about the revamping and reconstruction of Forest Hill Drive and widening Forest Hill Drive. That's what this red line is, from Lon Stevenson all the way to Shelby Road. We would be looking to widen that roadway to 4 and possibly 5 lanes in front of the school district. Coupled with that part of the project, they're also going to be timing and redoing the stoplights at the intersection of Forest Hill Drive and Interstate 20 and Forest Hill Drive and Forest Hill Circle. They're working with the city of Forest Hill on those projects. So the timing on those lights will be better for transportation because right now they're not connected at all. With that conversation, the county staff began talking about their portion or their project that they're working on, and that is the reconstruction and widening of Wichita Street from Interstate 20 to just south of Roy C. Brooks in our city. As you may have noticed that the Power lines are already being relocated on smaller poles farther to the west side of the roadway. All that is in preparation of this road project coming down. So what everybody had decided to do yesterday, based off recommendations from Michael Morris and his team, was to look at this as a system project. We want to address the needs for both projects all at the same time, utilizing and leveraging county funds, federal funds, COG funds, RTC funds, all kinds of money that's not ours. I'll point out. All these entities have really stepped up. And one thing that I wanted to highlight here that Michael Morris has highlighted that is he's really been the knight in shining armor for us is he doesn't just want to address our transportation issues. He wants to address and improve our flooding issue at the same time. With the Forest Hill Drive rebuild, they're going to be coming in and improving the bridge over Chambers Creek. They want to see what type of creek improvements they can perform simultaneous to the roadway projects. He talked a lot about potentially putting in what he referred to as smart culverts, which are culverts that are literally mechanical culverts that will hold water to a certain point and then slowly drain that water off into the creek to help alleviate the creek flooding. They want to look at this at a much, much larger scale. And there's the funding to do it. From federal funds, county funds, COG funds, RTC funds, there's funding out there to address all this. They're very excited about this project, and they got us pretty excited yesterday discussing it. So
Michael Morris did say that we may be the first one in the nation for this technology he's looking at.
Yes,
That spillway thing,
yes, the smart culverts.
smart culverts.
They are kind of revamping the way that transportation is done. Traditionally, transportation has always been done where they just look at the transportation. They want to look at the overall impacts of that transportation and how can they alleviate other issues, which is always water. Everywhere you go, it's water. So they want to look at the stormwater. So with this, we've now got partnerships coming up with COG in the stormwater development area. They're going to want us, they're starting to look upstream of Everman to find ways to hold water back and prevent water from coming in, all kinds of things. So why is that coupled with this? The interlocal agreement that we have here is for the FEMA flood study that the county applied the grant for on our behalf, and it's been approved and funded. So county is going to take care of working with FEMA and starting this flood study. Michael Morris and his team have already come in and said, whatever gaps you have with this flood study, we're going to step in and fund the rest, whatever gaps it is, to identify what potential mitigation efforts need to be done to help with the flooding. When I tell you that COG and Michael Morris have been a knight in shining armor, I'm serious when I tell you that he is stepping in with the full force of his group and willing to fund a lot of this project for us, almost all this project for us. So I wanted to give you the caveat that we are recommending that we approve the interlocal agreement tonight to get this process going on the flood study. However, this is going to be step one of many associated with this, and you can expect further agreements to come down the pipeline here within the coming months. Commissioner Brooks and Michael Morris are both on the same page in the aspect of they want to get this rolling now. They want action. It's been discussed for months, and they want to start putting boots on the ground and making things happen with this. So we're bringing this to you tonight with the recommendation that council approve this.
So the grant has been awarded to us?
So technically, the grant has been awarded to the county. The county is facilitating the grant for us, but it covers this flood study forever.
Okay.
Yes. We actually won't be handling or dealing with the funding at all. We also won't be dealing with the with the procurement of the contractors that will be doing the study.
Now, you mentioned the first part of regarding widening the Forest Hill Drive. When will they start work on that?
So they have already begun the engineer work.
Okay.
He's already got engineers started on the process. They need to perform the flood study first so they can get all the hydrological information incorporated in there. He made it sound like we would be looking at maybe something happening before the end of the year, which is pretty quick considering the scale of these projects.
They're anxious to get started. So,
Yes.
On the Wichita Street widening,
Yes, ma'am.
did they make any recommendation on the
They're also talking
Wichita
about
and Forest Hill Circle
FEMA
problem?
maps.
Yes,
They
yes,
did?
Updating
they're
on
looking at a
those, too.
traffic light there.
A traffic light?
If that's what you're asking,
Yeah.
yes. And this flood study is going to be for both Wichita. It's gonna look at all the impacts from Wichita Street as well as Forest Hill Drive. They're looking at a whole system approach.
Okay.
for
That
all-
You mentioned
intersection
the-
is bad.
Yes,
You mentioned the bridge on Chambers Creek. Is that's the one that's right before you get to Chambers, okay,
Yes,
because they're gonna redo that?
yes, ma'am. They want to put in a whole new bridge that will handle a much larger capacity than what it does now.
Right, because it's real shaky. I was gonna bring that up.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Well, he wants to improve the system to handle maximum water,
Yes,
not what we're dealing with now.
Right, right.
So he's wanting to get water out of houses. So, I mean, Michael Morrison and Commissioner Brooks, they've been awesome. You know, I just can't brag about those two guys enough and everything they've done. So hopefully they're gonna hold our hands. They're gonna get us where we need to be.
Yay.
yeah.
So I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. We approve item 22052 as read.
no.
Second,
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Edna, would you poll the council?
Place one,
I,
place two,
Aye.
place three,
Aye.
place four,
aye.
place five,
Aye.
Mayor,
Aye.
motion carried.
Next item B, approve the reallocation of $150,000 of the 2020 certificate of obligation bond proceeds to general fund for the purposes of city hall improvements as presented by the city manager, item 22055.
Okay, this is the bad news. The bad news is that when the building plans for the City Hall Annex were submitted, they were submitted underneath a category called A3. Upon review of those plans and compliance with the fire code underneath A3, and correct me if I misspeak at all here. A3 did not require that the building have a fire suppression or fire sprinkler system in it. However, upon further review, when the Tarrant County Fire Marshal's office was contacted and reviewing a lot of the plans, it doesn't classify as an A3, it classifies as an A2. A2 does require that facility have a fire suppression, fire sprinkler system in the main ballroom. That's the bad news in the aspect that it's roughly approximately $35,000 above and beyond what was originally budgeted and part of the project. The good news is we actually have some additional funding left over. We have come in well under budget. What was anticipated for the Columbine water well, nearly, I believe, $200,000, just shy of 200,000. And we have some funding there still available within the bond to reallocate to the City Hall Annex to make this happen. As we've continued on with the City Annex project, there have been a couple of things that have come up that we would like to do, but just weren't sure about where we were going to get the funding. Since we have these savings, we feel that it would be important to reallocate the savings that we have here to the City Hall Annex. Those include a privacy fence. We'd like to construct a privacy fence to separate the City Hall Annex from the residential homes just on the south side of it. That will both help with sight and sound reduction. So when we have cars that are in the parking lot at 10 o'clock at night, their headlights aren't shining into the back windows of the homes. It will also help if there's any sound out here to help kind of dampen some of that sound going over to those houses there. We've talked about the library sign for a very long time, and we know that it's antiquated. It's no longer serviceable, and we're doing everything we can to keep it on its last leg. Just get one message up there now. We would like to include a digital signage that would be added in front of the City Hall Annex. This would be a full screen LED digital signage. If you've driven up Wichita lately and driven by the Forest Hill Civic Center, the LED sign that they have is exactly what we're looking for, except ground level, not up high like that one is. We'd be looking to do it ground level. I believe in the agenda communication, did I include that? I did not include that. Give me just 1 second, I'm sorry.
Holding out on us, huh?
I am. I have a
It
picture.
looks, yeah. it looks good.
Was that not thought about when y'all were making the decision, the plans?
It was thought about, however, the funding just wasn't there and we were trying to be more fiscal. Here it is. This is a picture of the rendering of the digital signage that we would be looking to have. It's approximately, the sign itself, the LED sign is 8.5 feet wide by almost 4.5 feet tall. So it'd be a nice sign. This would allow us to display not only messages, but photos. I think it would be a great attraction point to the rental aspect of the City Hall Annex, where if folks want to host a quinceañera or a birthday party, they can display a message up there, happy birthday to Joe, or whoever they like for the duration of their event, or congratulations on your wedding, whatever it may be. It also gives us the ability to put our messages out there that we always want to share about certain events or things that are happening around the city. This technology that goes with it is such that we can change it on a dime from anywhere. So if a council member was to text me at 8 o'clock at night and ask me about putting a message on the sign, I could do it from my couch.
Not mentioning names.
Mackie.
The last bit is technology. So we had Zoom had reached out to us and wanted to come by and pay us a visit. And they just came on a whim, and we started meeting with them, and they showed us Zoom rooms. And Zoom rooms are the coolest thing. They are digital video conference rooms with a lot of technology in them. It would be something that we could offer to our local businesses that I don't think any other municipality offers that I know of.
That's
Free-
one of my
Free
questions.
to our local businesses.
What would a business here do in there?
Well, they would be able to host training for their staff. They could host conferences. If we have, let's say, I'm just picking a business off the top of my head, Aaron Ornamental Iron has a customer in Iowa that wants to use him as a vendor, and they need to get together and talk about business plans. We would have a facility that would accommodate him, and we wouldn't look to charge our local businesses. This would be a benefit, an economic development benefit. We'd be able to offer our local businesses, hey, you need to have a meeting. You can reserve this room here at no cost for your business since you're here in our city.
How do we protect the Zoom devices?
Well, they would have to, they would have to schedule them with us. Our staff would be over there
staff
and
would
monitor.
run
We would supervise it.
Okay,
We wouldn't just give them a key and tell them to go help themselves. They would have to schedule it. We would have a calendar schedule that they'd be able to schedule those meetings on. Our staff would take care of setting that up and getting them going in there. Then they would be able to operate those rooms.
okay.
The monitors in there that come with the Zoom rooms are all touchscreen. So they'd be able to use the touchscreen as a whiteboard. It would be phenomenal, not just for our businesses, but our staff when we do trainings as well.
The video you shared was pretty good.
Yes, the
Yeah.
final touch to it would be the City Hall Annex serves as our emergency operations center in the event, God.
Of a
forbid,
flood.
something ever happen again. Having that kind of technology in-house in a facility like that would be
How many
tremendously
rooms you talking
helpful.
about?
I'm sorry,
How many rooms?
all the rooms. All
But how many?
The three
Did you have
breakout.
a
sorry.
printout or something that you could possibly give me to let me know what it's going to look like?
Watch the video. It's wonderful.
What video?
In the, what'd you put that on? The agenda, the weekly,
On the report. Hold
He
on.
sent a link.
the report.
Yeah. And how many rooms are we gonna have?
Now, we have one big one and 3 breakouts, I think. 3?
I guess the audio doesn't go through.
I think you have to click the button.
Well, I did. It's playing on my computer, but it's not playing on
Oh.
yours.
Yeah, that's kind of stuff.
I mean, the audio.
Ignore the closed captions.
In a different language.
Yes.
So you can see he's using, I'll just kind of narrate here. He's using the touch screen to be able to draw on the whiteboard, the Zoom room where they can schedule different layouts. We would look to put this in all 3 of our breakout rooms and then
Right.
also have it available in the main ballroom. So if there was a conference, a large conference, and they wanted to have it as a webinar where people from all over the world could tune in and be a part of this conference, we would have that ability.
Okay. I'm just concerned about people did not treat the old annex well, as you know.
Yes,
And we're putting a lot of money and time and electronics in this new one.
I completely understand.
And I-
Before we open those doors, we are going to bring before you a whole new policy book solely for that facility. The rental guidelines, the cost, requirements, insurance, all that kind of stuff that goes with it. So we're going to be addressing those issues from an internal aspect and making sure that we have solid policies and procedures in place to protect our property over there, as well as in the event of damages, being able to recoup those costs and get those damages repaired.
Yes.
So altogether, we're asking for the reallocation of $150,000. I don't currently anticipate us going over 121,154, but as a just in case, I like to always have a little bit of a contingency, so that's why I've increased that number to 150. That still leaves us $44,000 currently under budget between all the projects that we have on slate,
In the water side.
on the water side.
And you did speak to Andrew Friedman, and he said we can legally move this money, so
Yes.
we're good there.
Yes, I did.
Okay, so on the first page of your memo, where you're talking about request for the reallocation of bond proceeds. And you talk about the Columbine water well, we originally estimated $966,000, almost $967,000. And we came in almost $200,000 shy of that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that gives me not warm fuzzy feelings. Why are we almost $200,000 shy?
Greg, no, it's because that's what the bids came in at. So Greg Saunders, our city engineer, when he builds these proposals, he has no idea what the bids or what the market's going to do.
Right.
So he has to provide these estimates. Greg is very, very good at always overestimating, and he's very conservative on his numbers.
That doesn't look conservative, $200,000.
It's conservative.
Okay.
We came in well under. The
Amen.
bid that came in was at that 772,475, and they're
Okay.
nearly complete.
Is 772 the lowest bidder?
Yes, ma'am. That is correct.
Is that company trustworthy?
So when we-
That's a lot of money.
Yes, when we do the bid process, after the bids are received, Greg always takes those back and he does his investigation on the companies to make sure that they comply with all the standards, they have the backings and meet all the necessary requirements to be able to do the job. So-
I'm thinking city parks that might have gone awry, those kinds of,
Well, I can't speak to that one because I'm
Fly-by-night
not so sure that was
companies.
done correctly, but I can assure you that this was done correctly with the city engineer in the bid process and that it was best.
Yeah, I would hate to have just a bucket of.
That's not the
Cost
case.
700,000.
No, that's certainly not the case.
On this,
On
I
the
guess
water
it's
hose,
a
hose
receipt
everywhere.
where it's general data tech, or these quotations of these, what you've already told us that you've just discussed regarding the licensing fees and stuff.
Yes, that is from Zoom. Yes, that is
Okay.
correct.
Okay, what's going to happen to the old sign that's up now?
Well,
Are you referring to the library?
we're gonna try to keep it running as long as we can, but I think at some point.
are you talking about the library sign, John?
Yes.
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
We're gonna squeak every penny of it.
Yeah.
in out.
Yeah, we're gonna keep it running as long as we can, but it is essentially on its last leg. The last time that we had it fixed, it cost us $8,000 or
It was a
$9,000.
Yeah.
And now we're to the point where the software only allows us to display one message at a time. We can't
And
display
small at
multiple
that.
messages. It's very small. Nobody will service it anymore just because
It's only like 20 years old.
yes.
Have you gotten any estimates on what the electrical work was going to be? Any quotes on the electrical work? Because I noticed it said that wasn't included.
I'm sorry, on which one, ma'am?
For I guess the sign and stuff that's on.
Oh, the electrical work is already worked into the plan. So when we did plan the Civic Center, we talked about putting the sign as a part of the plans. They're plumbing out electrical and data to where we would want the sign in the future.
Mhm.
Because we requested that as a part of the Civic Center being built, but we didn't think we were going to have the funding to actually put the sign. So we had him go ahead and run electrical and data out there. So in the event in the next couple of years, if we came up with funding to put a sign, we could put it in without having to dig through concrete and
Tear
everything.
up the parking lot.
Exactly.
Where is the Columbine site?
It is directly next door to the current well that's over there. It's just to the west of that current well that's sitting out there at the dead end of Southway.
Okay, because why do they call it Columbine then?
I don't know why they named
Oh,
it.
because that's what confused me.
Yes.
Oh, when are they supposed to be finished with that?
Within the month,
Okay.
they're nearly complete with it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. What do,
Check
so,
on something.
the remainder, I guess about 40,000, what are you gonna do with, that?
We're gonna hold on to it, or I'm gonna recommend we hold on to it
Please.
until we get all the current projects that we have slated complete. I just want to have some sort of contingency in case something else comes up. We still have a few projects outstanding. I think it'd be best to hold on to those funds until the projects become complete. And then once we're done with all of our projects that we've originally slated, we'll come back to the table and revisit to find out how many funds we have left and ask council for guidance on how you would like to proceed with either spending those funds or allocating those funds towards repayment. We'll bring some recommendations then. So
So
right now, we're just gonna hold it.
I'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve 2205, 22055, I can't read, as read.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
Motion was made by Matthew. Seconded by Dixon.
Hold the council. Edmond?
Place 1, Aye. place 2,
Aye.
place 3,
Aye.
place 4,
Aye.
place 5.
Aye.
Mayor,
Aye.
motion carried.
Item C, approve budget amendments as presented by the Everman Finance Director, item 22056.
Your turn. Oh, entertain a motion. All right. Yeah, you can if you want to.
These are just the final wrap-up
Yeah.
amendments, but if you want to go through,
Yeah,
Highlight
I just wanted to talk about a couple things.
Is this for last year's budget?
This is the
Yes, this
final
is-
budget
Okay.
amendments for the completion of last year's budget.
Okay, good. That took about 7 of my questions away.
Yes.
Starting with line 1.
yes, ma'am,
Okay.
that is complete.
Yes.
All right, that makes sense.
So
Okay.
there are, as you look at this, there's really 3 departments that have some major overages. One being admin, obviously that top number there, due to the carryover from previous city manager salary and current city manager salary. The next one is police. That is a big number related to police salary, overtime, and health insurance expense. We had a bad year last year. We had some costs that incurred between the loss of an officer in the line of duty. We also had a lot of personnel changes over the year where we just had a lot of overages. A lot of
A
overages.
lot of money.
We're getting, as much as I hate to say it, we're getting busier and busier within the police department. And I don't think that trend's going to slow down. Our crime rate is down as far as violent crime, but just as a police department, they're getting more and more busy. And that's due to population increases, travel increases, things around us are blowing up. Police department's going to continue to get busier overall.
What is the $4,500 for building maintenance?
Under which?
It's, like you said, it's a credit.
She's at the top.
Oh, okay. So that's what we had $4,500. We came in on our budget by $4,500 in that department. So we're reallocating that to the debit side.
Okay. For city TIF contribution,
Yes, the city TIF contribution came in higher than expected because of the increase in the property values. So our portion went up, but the amount that we received also went up, but that's to cover the amount of budget that was short. And the audit, as you'll see just below that, the audit expense also increased. So that's also a large amount.
the consultant plan review, what is that?
That's a pass-through fee. So one thing, we have it in ordinance, but one thing that we weren't necessarily doing administratively or internally is when we inherit costs, when somebody submits plans and those plans need to be professionally reviewed by an engineer to be signed off on for a building, we have been incurring those costs and we have not been seeking reimbursement of those costs from the builder,
From the people who ask you to do it.
We've changed
shame on
that because it's in ordinance. It's within our fee schedule. So
Oh,
now
so
we
got
have,
$9,000.
we have processes in place. So we had to spend the $9,500 to pay the engineer to review those. We have recouped or in the process of.
No, we did.
Did we? Okay, we've recouped those costs back
Good.
from the bill.
Okay.
And this is just to
Mhm.
put a dollar amount in that budget line item. It's an offset.
So the last thing I wanted to highlight here is obviously we're having to pull from general fund reserve. Everybody has seen that. But here's the positive here. So when we started last year's budget, we were somewhere in the general fund reserve of around $280,000 sitting in the general fund reserve. Our goal this year, and we've talked a lot about all the cost saving measures and things that we've changed and tried to cut back on that somewhere close to $500,000 is what we were hoping to get to.
Wait a minute, what do you mean? Hoping to get to?
That's with all the processes. That's what we were hoping to save. Remember with all the budget that we changed the phone system, we talked about the janitor changes, staffing changes. We were trying to save
Uh-huh.
somewhere in the ballpark of $500,000.
Okay,
We didn't quite get that high. However, we have more than doubled the general fund reserve fund, even after making this allocation here.
even after $111,000?
Yes, ma'am.
How much do we have in general fund?
Somewhere around 600.
Yeah, it's just over 600,000 at year end in general fund.
So we're heading in the right direction.
Yes.
That's excellent.
We were hoping to put more in there. We really were, but we didn't quite get there. So I'm disappointed that we.
So we currently have about $600,000 in general fund. And this include, I know you said I don't want to hear it again. And this includes after you pull out the 111,000 to balance last year's budget.
Yes.
That's pretty darn good.
So I know it looks bad,
Definitely
but
going
I
in
did
the
want to
right
highlight that.
direction.
Yes.
That's good.
I know it looks bad. I just wanted to highlight that positive.
No,
thing.
thank you,
We're
'cause that
going
was-
in the right way, but we
There are positive numbers at the end of the year.
Because on the back of my paper in purple ink, bleeding on my paper, I said,
I'm gonna
okay,
use
how
a
much do
different
we
color next time.
have in general? 39 cents is what I was afraid you were gonna
But-
say.
As you can see from the items on the right side of the column, I have taken what little savings we have left over and I transferred those before using any reserves. We tried to clean up the numbers and hopefully with this year's budget, the numbers will be a little more accurate and
Yay.
hopefully we get all the revenues that we have set out to.
Good.
So that's our goal.
In the maintenance garage, do we have a budget for, I know we had a small budget for repairs, correct? I
We
mean,
do.
for like oil changes and
Yes, we do.
stuff.
We do.
And so, on the back, this is what the insurance has paid.
Yes, anytime a vehicle has been wrecked, and we receive insurance proceeds, it goes into this and it offsets the expenses that are incurred in that fund.
Yeah, one thing to keep in mind too is after this previous budget was adopted, gas rates nearly doubled over this past year, above what was budgeted. So we've seen an overage in gas and oil as well.
Any other discussion?
That's good.
Would you poll the council?
Did we
Need a
make a
motion.
motion?
We didn't
Oh,
make
wait
a
a minute.
motion yet.
That's right. We hadn't made a motion.
I move we approve item 22056 as read and discussed.
Second.
I don't know what I was thinking. I thought we
We're
already,
ready to go.
any further discussion?
Oh, can I add one thing?
Yes.
I just wanted to bring to your attention on the second page, if you look under the water sewer fund, just take note that there have been no transfers from the reserve from the water fund. Thank you.
How much do we have in reserves for the water?
He would ask. you that.
Was it?
How much do we have in reserves for water?
Give me 2 minutes, I'll go find out.
Well, it's not a big deal. I'll ask you again later. So I'm just curious. So
She'll find it by the time we finish polling.
well, it's up to you.
I'll be right back.
Okay. Would you
Place
yeah.
one,
would you
Aye.
poll the council?
place two,
Aye.
place three,
Aye.
place four,
Aye.
place five,
Aye.
Mayor,
Aye.
motion carried.
I guess we lost Miriam, didn't we? Okay, next time
she
is
can't
executive
vote.
session. We don't have anything. Right, Craig?
Correct.
City manager's report, do you have anything?
Yes, so the last piece of paper I placed in front of you, last meeting, it was requested that we calculate up the parking lot cost savings. And that came in at a total of $518,560.
Now, that is an impressive number.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So, and I've got excellent news on that. We've submitted the ILAs that were approved last council meeting to the county. And we're already working with TxDOT. They have over 2,000 cubic feet of asphalt millings ready to be picked up and delivered. So we are currently coordinating that right now with county. I do want to let you know there will be a little bit of an eyesore on Ray Street during these projects. We're going to have to use the vacant lots that we have on Ray Street to store that asphalt during construction, but it will make sure it's all cleaned up and restored back to normal beforehand.
Yay.
The concrete curb work along Ray Street has been complete. We did the final inspection this week and have completed that agreement with that contractor. And so that work is complete. So you shouldn't see any more curb work being done there.
When they gonna pick the cones up?
They were picked up today.
Okay.
Public Works is currently working on finishing up some water line connections. We've got the final and connections being done at Christopher and Enon, which have been a nightmare. We'll come back to that, revisit that issue at a later date, but there's been valves and things that are not working. And so we've got to address those issues somewhere down the line. They're also working on taking down all the Christmas decorations. So you'll start to see that stuff start coming down this week as well. The Civic Center is moving, the City Hall Annex is moving rather quickly at this stage. Metal inspections will occur this week. And wood framers will be here next week to start putting in the wood framing, and you'll start to see some significant progress on the City Hall Annex. The water well is nearly complete. Chambers Creek is complete with the exception of we're still waiting on some meter boxes to come in. I'm told it's shipping delays and everything else, but we're still waiting on the new meter boxes. As soon as those come in, they're going to install the boxes and they're done. But the water connections and everything are complete and covered. So we hope to wrap that project completely up in the coming weeks. So we're finally starting to finish out some of these utility projects. I believe that's all I've got.
I got a question. Did you find out anything about those little things sitting on top of the?
They were supposed to go by and flip those back over. Those are the radio transmitters for the water meter. They were supposed to, for some reason, they pulled them all off and set them on the side. Water department was supposed to go by and put those back over. Have they not done that yet? Okay, I will check on
Okay.
that.
Susan, did you get that number?
I did. Okay, so we ended up the year with 1.3 million in the, but don't get too excited yet. That is 1.2 of that is the building funds, and then 100,000 in investments, which is, yes, it's not as high as we would like. However, keep in mind that last year, at the end of the year, we were in the hole 140,000.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So how much do we have?
100,000 in investments and 1.2 in reserves for the,
For the building of the wells and stuff. Okay. Okay.
yeah, the construction fund.
But it's in black letters. It's not in red letters.
It's right,
Okay,
all of it,
okay.
1.3. Yeah, and last year we ended in negative 1.
Yeah, red, bad.
Chief, did you ever look into any of those grant funds that were given out by the government regarding the utility?
We've already
Utilities.
Utilities. I'm sorry, ma'am. Refresh.
Utilities, I have asked about some of those where the residents could be reimbursed.
Oh, the
reimbursed
utility
for-
assistance. Yes.
Yeah.
So I've got, we've been working with Susan Ah, and we're going to talk, she's with Tarrant County CDBG.
Mhm.
She's the one that has all the contacts with those citizen assistance programs, and she's supposed to be getting me a large list of resources. We do want to
Right.
push that information out.
Right.
She agreed to be able to help us out with that.
Okay.
And I think she's going to be here, not at the next council meeting, maybe the following one. She is the one that we're coordinating with on the CDBG grant project that we got funded for the Pittman Park. And she's also overseeing the CDBG 2022 project that we're going to bring back to you at the next council meeting with the engineers to discuss and approve before we submit, because we have to submit that by the.
So we're now at every first and third meeting, right?
Yes,
Okay,
the first and third Tuesday. Yes, sir.
so I don't show up next week and think everybody's,
We ditched you, Kelly.
because I didn't make the last meeting. I was in the hospital.
Okay, mayor's report, I don't have anything. So anybody have anything else? We good? Okay, we are adjourned. Time is 7:40. Can't read that.